Hey everybody, I'm Jordan Benston, and today I'm so excited about the person that I'm talking to, the Kristin Meyers of Minds Dine. And if you do not know who she is, you need to be listening carefully, okay? Listening very carefully today so that you can know who Kristin is and know what Kristin is doing, okay? You need to make sure we know this. Kristin, what's up, girl?
Hi, Jordan.
Tell the people about Minds Dine. Like, what do they need to know? What y'all be doing?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Minds Dine is a live entertainment production company. We specialize in live events, which involves music, any type of live component to it, festivals, concerts, award shows. That's really our specialty, and that's pretty much the department, sort of say, that I worked in at BET, and that's what I fell in love with, and that's where I knew I wanted to really brand my company. So yeah.
For background, Kristin and I know each other from BET like a lot of years ago. We not finna age ourselves, but we not new to this, we true to this. I'ma just say that.
We're not
So
new.
Chris, like it's easy for us to like be in our lanes and like climb the ladder and stay within the companies. What made you say I need my own?
You know what? When I moved to New York and when I started as a PA, I always knew I was going to have my own company. My dad called me, I think this was like my first week maybe in the office, and he's like, I know you're working at BET, like, and that's cool, but you're going to have your own company and you have to bring it back to these kids in New Orleans. And so that just always stuck with me. I just always had this feeling in me that I was going to have to step away and start my own thing. And it was terrifying. It was hard. I loved what I was doing. I loved what I was doing at BET. I loved my coworkers, and just like, you getting paid a certain amount every week. Like,
Right.
so to step away and start building your own company, it was tough, but I always knew it. I always knew I was going to have my own company.
So what was the process? Like, how did you start your company? What did you do?
Okay. Woo. I went broke. I'm gonna make this short, but I want to make sure that people understand like what it takes to even build something from the ground up and to step away from something that you love, that you are excelling in. BT was like I loved it. I loved working there. I loved New York. I was like, okay, like I'm growing, I'm starting to get some like air under my wings. Different executives are starting to like really pay attention and pour into me. And, they wanted to move me into a direction that they saw fit for me. That's when I knew it was time for me to go. And then, not that it was a bad thing. I was great on production management. I was a really good line producer, so I was excelling in the production management department, but I knew I was a producer at heart. When I was a kid, I was a producer. I just didn't know the title of it. I didn't know what to call it. But as I started to grow and develop in the industry, I was able to put a title to what my gift was. So that was something that was always in me. I knew it was time for me to leave because I started to be really, really unhappy. Like before, I would wake up and I was excited to go to work. Like that was never an issue for me to wake up, work out, eat, and I'm going to the office. Like that was like, that made me happy every single day. Then it started to feel like I was dreading it. It was miserable. I didn't even want people to talk to me at work anymore. And I'm like, this isn't me. And I'm like, it's not me. It's because I hit my ceiling. There's like nowhere else for me to grow personally, that I could continue to excel on a personal level. And so when I realized that, I'm like, all right, it's time. I have to kind of start moving into the direction of building my own company. And when I decided that in my mind first. I started to save. I took the whole year and I'm like, okay, I got to change my attitude. I have to find a reason to go in and do this every day. And the team that I started with wasn't there anymore. So, it was just like, it was a whole new face of a company. And it wasn't the same. And I was still getting like great opportunities. My bosses were still giving me shows to work on. Like, I was managing a few shows at a time. I was traveling a lot. And it was cool, but it just still didn't feel like I didn't feel the joy, in it. But I didn't slack. And that's one thing I want people to hear from this. I didn't slack up on my work. I gave it 100%. I had to build myself up every day to go in and give it 100%. And that was really tough. That was a tough year, a really hard year for me. I just started saving. I didn't spend anything on, like, I'm a shopper. I love shopping. You know that, Jordan.
No.
I didn't spend any money. I didn't spend at all. I was wearing the same thing for a year straight. And I'm like, I have to save enough to be able to move. And I remember me and my friends were having a conversation, and one of them mentioned Atlanta. And I'm like, damn, that's it. I think that's where I need to go. So packed up, moved to Atlanta, and then I had one project when I first got to Atlanta, and then nothing.
So when you first got to Atlanta, were you fully 100% like working for yourself, or were you still okay?
I wasn't working for myself at all, actually. I started the company, I named it, I got the LLC for it, but I wasn't working for myself. I was still working freelance projects. So when I moved to Atlanta, I had a couple projects here, and then I just went into like this dark space. And I thought Atlanta was going to be like this new, just exciting journey for me, and it wasn't that. I stayed in my apartment a lot for at least a year and a half, like a lot. And I just spent time writing, developing a plan for my company, developing, just the way I wanted it to look, the way I wanted it to feel, the type of employees I want, the type of people I wanted to be around, the type of clientele I wanted to promote to. So I spent a lot of time by myself, praying, literally crying. I probably cried like every other day. And
and that's part of the game when you decide to be out on your own, because we live in a society where everybody makes it look easy.
Yeah.
It looks like you just are like, I'ma quit the next day. You got this business, it's successful, it's great, it's all the things. And it's like, no, not really. It's been years of me trying to figure out, like, what is the business? What is the path? How do I make it happen? How do I build the clientele? So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you like promote your business to get people to know about it? To be like, oh, let me call Kristin and like Minds Dine to do this. Like, how did that happen?
So I started taking freelance projects, and then I would just ask, like, can I work under my company name? And, we come from that world where people want to be paid through their company, not as an individual. So understanding why, I didn't know why people would fight for it so hard. But now, having my own company, and, you have yours, and you understand, like, what the fight is about. You want to grow your company. So I would just take on, I didn't even care if it was me being a production manager, if it was me being an associate on something. I took a step back and started to take jobs that I had surpassed, but all to work under my company name. And then what I have really been skilled at is development. I'm really, really good with developing people. So I would hire like all of these PAs, and people would see the way I would train them and talk with them and like, give them tasks and walk them through things. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting to build, a little team, out here in Atlanta. And it started to become fun for me again. And what I did, which I think really, really helped me early on, is that I wasn't, one, I was spending all of my savings. And then two, I wasn't making as much money on these projects because I wanted to develop young people. So I would take the money that I was making and pay them. So I probably wasn't really seeing any money in the beginning, like anything, because what I noticed, Jordan, is that when our circle, when we will reach out to each other and we like, oh, we need a coordinator, or we need this, or we need that, it was always us. It's like a group of about 10 of us maybe, and we're spread through New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles. But if one of us couldn't do it, we didn't have anybody outside of our circle to call on and to trust and to hand off a project. You know that things are going to get taken care of. So I took 2 years just complete development, like developing PAs, coordinators, managers. I just poured everything into like developing them. And I'm telling you, I wasn't making any money for like 2 years. Then the pandemic hit. And I'm just like, bruh, this is a joke.
You and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Like, this is a joke. This is a joke. But the pandemic, actually, it helped me. It helped me. I mean, I had COVID a couple times, but it helped me because I understood digital production. I knew, how to work in the digital space. So I was able to be called on by one of my favorite companies, Revolt. I helped with the Revolt Virtual Summit. And from there, like, I was able to get so many virtual projects and produce virtually, and people they didn't understand it. So I'm like, okay, I sat at home for like a year when I got to Atlanta. So all I was on was the computer and trying to figure out different ways to work, technology. And that's all I was doing. So I'm like, all right, God, like, you had a reason for sitting me down, for a while, so that I can really go in and study things that I had no clue about. So I pretty much excelled during the pandemic, and that catapulted me to where I am now.
It's so funny because most of the people that I've spoken to about their businesses have identified the pandemic as like, that was it. Like, that was the thing that like catapulted my business and made a difference. And somebody that I spoke to was saying how during the pandemic, a lot of things were happening, right? And we had George Floyd was during the pandemic, and all those things were going on. And it was a time where like the world wanted to put a lot of focus on Black people and Black businesses. How do we support Black owned businesses, and how do we support small businesses? And that allowed a lot of us to maintain and grow. I mean, even with my company, like, one of the first big things for me was during the pandemic. And somebody reached out and was like, hey, Jordan, I need to produce this virtual press event and red carpet for PBS. Do you know somebody that can do it? I said, me. Available. When in North, like, if it hadn't been the pandemic, I would have been like, oh yeah, let me connect you with, let me give you that person. But because I had the time, like, I was still working, but I'm like, I have time. So I was able to produce that myself, and I was like, okay, I see it. And that was one of the things. It was like, oh, you did this, and then that client leads to like, they're like, oh, who did that? And they're like, oh, Jordan and Oracle Media did it. Like, that's who did it. And then it goes from there. What would you say so far you feel like has been like one of your biggest challenges as a business owner?
I think budgets. One of my biggest challenges is being trusted with the amount of money that I'm asking for. And I can confidently say it because of the world we come from. We come from production management. We come from managing $1 million budgets, that they aren't necessarily given to us in our company at that time. It was just, we had to manage those budgets. So we had to hire the third-party companies and work with them. And, we had to make sure those numbers were right. We had to hire producers and camera operators and technicians. And, we had to do all of that. Post-production, we had to see it all the way through. So we spent 10 years developing, ourselves and
Mhm.
understanding what it takes to put on a production and to see it
Mhm.
all the way through from idea to the time that it's airing. So I understand and know how to manage a budget because I've done it for other people and I've done it diligently. I don't play when it comes to putting my name on something. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to treat it as if it's mine. So, understanding that and then pitching yourself and pitching your company and breaking down what it's going to take for us to do it, and then you get that pushback on, okay, so well, why are we paying you so much, or like, why? So I think that's been sort of a challenge for me because I'm
Yeah.
like, you serious?
Right.
You seriously asking me this question?
And you want to know something? I also think that like we have a leg up in a sense of like, to your point, we managed $1 million budgets. We hired the third party consultant teams.
Mm-hmm.
We know what y'all got.
We know where the money is hiding.
We know where the
What you're
money is
saving.
hiding.
And because we have to do it, and and I'm saying we know where the money is hiding, not because it's like, okay, they're trying to take this money and do something. That you're going to have things that you're going to have to put money towards. Like, you have
Mhm.
last minute discrepancies that you have to take care of. You may need to bring more people on. You may need to go out. Okay, you have the plan to be in Atlanta shooting this the whole time, but you may get a call and say, we need a team to be in LA tomorrow, and you need to spend that money. So we understand like what it takes to put on a project. We understand
Mhm.
how to spend the money. And so to have to always fight and explain that is kind of tough. It's tough, and sometimes it's discouraging. It's
Yeah.
discouraging in ways where it's like, do they really believe that I can do it? Are they trying to bring another company on? Like, are they just testing me? But
Mhm.
the thing is, like, I get discouraged sometimes, but I'm not quitting because I know what my purpose is in this.
Yeah.
So sometimes, even if it's not what I'm asking for, I'm gonna try to get close to it and I'm gonna knock it out the park. So but
Yeah.
hopefully this year that is not my biggest challenge. Last year it was, and years before.
So another thing I want to talk to you about is, let's talk about the Myers clan. Okay. I just want to say that I respect and love so much how like your business, it's not just you, but we seeing your brothers, we seeing your sisters, like everybody is doing something and has their own lane where it like
Go ahead.
works within a business. Like, not only do you have Like Minds Dine, but you like a whole artist manager, like, and a management team to the family. Like, how in the world are you balancing all of that? And like, how?
I don't even know. I don't know how I balance it because, okay, it's 4 of us, 2 boys, 2 girls. I have an older brother, I have a little sister, and then I have a baby brother. They're all artists. They're all creatives. Like, they are all a ball of artistic thoughts and visions. And like, this is the house that I grew up in. Even my parents, like, very artsy, just nothing was off limits when it came to expressing ourselves, like wanting to start a new project. I played the violin, I played the clarinet, like, I ran track, I was a dancer, I've done like all of the arts. So my siblings, same way. Like, if my brother wanted to fly to the moon, my parents would be like, okay, well, let's figure out how to get you an intern at NASA. Like, nothing was off limits for us. So then I knew I was going to build a company. I always knew
Yeah.
that. And I have to like give it to my older brother, De Niro. He really like paved the way for me. He would take me to all of these concerts, and like, we going backstage and we would meet the artists, and I'm young. He was like 15 doing this. And like, my parents are letting him go with state property and like travel places, and he was on street teams, and I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to do what my brother does. But of course, being a female, being the little girl, it's like, you cannot do that, like, at all. But I feel like my brother took a step back, like in all the things that he wanted to do, that he saw for like his career, to make sure that I was set. So like that's what really like started my journey, is my brother. And then just the balance. My sister is a visual and performing artist. Both of my brothers are performing artists. My older brother has a wellness company, juices, smoothies. So I manage all three of them. And you could imagine being a sibling and then having to be a manager. Whew,
Listen, I can't imagine. But let me tell you what I can imagine is your parents being able to sit back
yeah,
and be like, we got it right.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
We got it right. We did what we were brought here and what we were provided as vessels to bring these children into the world to do. And I'm sure for them, like, especially now with like having kids of my own and being able to think about how intentionally I want to like pour into and support my children, like I can only imagine that they are beaming with like, I can't believe it.
I can't wait till we can retire them. That's what I would go. The four of us collectively have decided, like, this year is the year that they won't work another day in their life. So that's our goal this year, is to make sure that they can now go and just travel the world, enjoy themselves, and just really, I know they're proud of us, but I feel like they would be like, wow, like y'all really did this. I don't know. I love my siblings, man.
Listen, if y'all need to get to know the Myers clan. They a good time. I love your siblings too, just like they're my siblings.
We are. They're my best friends. And they, you know what? They understand. We really understand that we're all individually building something. So they give me grace when, I can't show up for something for them. And, I'm really zoned in on my projects and what I'm doing. And the beautiful thing is that they are all self-sufficient. You deal with a lot of artists that you have to do everything for. And I've been there. I've saw it. I've witnessed it. I've worked with artists where you are the babysitter, you the chef, you the assistant, you the personal shopper, you are their therapist, you're the sister, mom, you're everything to them. And I knew that that's not the type of artist that I saw longevity for myself, because of what I'm building with Like Minds Dine. So with my siblings, they can handle certain things on their own, and we are building a team around each of them right now, so that they can have an assistant, they can have a day-to-day manager, and I can, step in on the important things and, just helping to develop the people around them.
Right. So with the knowledge that you have now, the clients that you have now, like, now that we've made it over,
we did.
Made it over to the other side. Now we still going. We made it over to the other side. But if you had to go back and tell Kristin from 2016, 2017, any advice, or what would you tell? What would you tell Kristin from like 6-7 years ago about what she has to look forward to?
About what I have to look forward to?
Yeah. Or what advice would you give Kristin from 6 years ago?
The advice I would give is to take time for myself. Learn to say no to some things. Learn to say I need a minute, and really take time to myself and be serious about that. Like, put time on the calendar where, okay, no calls, no meetings, no text messages, just really take a moment for myself, whether that moment is a full day, whether that moment is a week, like, I don't care what it is. It's whatever I need, because I give my all to everybody. I literally, like, there was a point where if you call, I'm there. If you need me to work on something, I'll get on the plane and come and do it. That sometimes compromised the important things that I had going on in my life. So sometimes just saying I need a minute, or saying no and taking time for myself, because I mean, I've had anxiety attacks, you know, like my health became, you know, just compromised because I was giving everybody else my all. So now that's helped me a lot. Like I've freed up so much space in my life, and it took some time for people to get used to it, especially my family, because I'm like, y'all are the first people I'm saying no to. Like, y'all, and I know it's gonna hurt, but I know that y'all are gonna understand because y'all know how I show up. So I would say just being okay, giving myself, I know this is kind of cliche, giving myself grace.
Listen, baby, ain't nothing cliche about it. And I'm the grace queen, because I'm gonna tell you real quick, like, for your sanity, we are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're so hard on ourselves, and we're constantly like looking and nitpicking, and it could be better, or it could be different, or dang, I should have done this. Like, I couldn't begin to tell you how many like projects I've worked on, or how many things I've done where like you finish a project and you get to sit down and be like, dang, I could have, or I should have, a blah, blah. And while everybody is like, oh my God, you did such a great job. And we are having internal conflict.
Like
going through it.
Yes.
Like it was horrible. I hated it.
Going to the bathroom.
It was great.
Crying. Like bawling.
Tears, Chris. Everybody is like, this was, and we're like,
Jordan, you know what I will say that I admire? Like you said, I want a family. I literally remember being in the office, and I remember when you were dating your husband, and I remember like, okay, well, should I go out there and should I talk to you? I remember all of this. Like, I remember it. And you did something that a lot of women, and a lot of women who have these roles where they have to manage companies and people and businesses, and they're ranked. And then you see a lot of Black women who have these outstanding, successful careers, and they're single and they don't have children. And not to say that everybody wants kids or that everybody wants to be married or in a relationship. You know, some people just, that's not the path. That's not what they want to do.
Right.
But then there are a lot that I talk to, and I'm like, what happened? Like, you know, like, why didn't you, you know, just take time and like date somebody, or, you know, why didn't you have a baby? And they just didn't have time. And then years just passed. But I look at them and like, wow, the careers that they have, amazing. But you, Jordan, at your young age, you have 2 beautiful children, you're married, you look happy, y'all always like look like, and I'm not saying anything is perfect, but you know, you and your husband, y'all look like y'all really enjoy each other and work and balancing and kids, the family. So I admire that so much, because a lot of women want, and then you didn't miss a step in your career. Like, you own a company and your company is doing fucking amazing work. Like, y'all, you building a team, you have kids, and then you still investing in other kids. Like, you know, so I love that. I love that about you. So hopefully my husband is coming this year.
We manifesting that. We gonna touch and agree. I'm gonna put that in my prayer book and add it to my list of things that I'm asking the Lord for. Why you blessing me, Lord? Chris Hudson. Gonna send him down, Jesus. Gonna send him right on down to my sis, because we need to go ahead and get that together, right?
Oh my God.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I hope that the people who are listening and have heard this are inspired to do their own thing, inspired to know that they can like do their thing, support other people, give themselves some grace, say no, no to all the people. And if you're listening, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share the episode. Like, let me know your favorite Black women business owners so we could talk to them too and figure out, you know, what they do with their businesses. And again, my name is Jordan Benston. This is Kristin Meyers from Minds Dine. Thank you guys so much for listening. And this is Minding My Black Women Owned Business.
Thank you, Jordan.